I'm joined by Stephen Caldwell. At the end of a year when Canada's men's national team achieved so much and took so many strides forward under new head coach Jesse Marsch, we are about to find out who will be named the Canadian men's national team player of the year. And before we find out the official winner, we've given the task to Stephen Caldwell to take into account form for both club and country and name his top 10 players of 2024. So, Stevie, let's start with number 10.
OK, I'll say this is heavily weighted in national team form, I have to say. So, for number 10, I'm going to go Matthew Chouanier. I think he's had an excellent season. He's got his move to Europe, to Zurich. He's in European football. It's where he's always wanted to be. And he's shown that he can be a contributor for the Canadian men's national team. At number 9, Stefan Eustaquio. Eustaquio's not at his best year. The 27-year-old's been in and out at Porto, but he's still a contributor and he's still very important for the men's national team. Number 8, Derek Cornelius, another guy who got a brilliant move from Malmo to Marseille, and he's proved that he can be a significant contributor with a national team under Jesse Marsch.
OK, let's get to number 7. And number 7 is Jacob Schaffelberg, who had a wonderful summer, was one of those players that Canada got to know and love during Copa America. So much so, he was being referred to all the time as the Maritime Messi. So why is he so low at number 7?
Well, I mean, his club form's been a little bit patchy. Nashville themselves didn't have a great season in MLS, but again, we're weighted heavily on his international form, and he's been absolutely outstanding for the national side. His contributions in Copa America, the goals that he scored, just his general threat in that left-hand side, the way that he was trusted by Jesse Marsch, I think is significant. So I've got him at 7. I didn't have him higher. Obviously, we're going to find out the names that are higher in a minute or two here, but I just felt that was probably the right spot when you try and balance the club form with the national form to put him in 7.
OK, balancing club and country might also explain number 6 then. Maxime Crépeau was someone who was a standout for Canada during Copa America, both in games, penalty shootouts as well, having fought alongside Dane St. Clair to take that number 1 job, but he's only at 6.
Yeah, a pretty poor club season. That's why I've got him at 6, because there's 2 stories to Maxime Crépeau in 2024. It's his club form, he's moved to Portland, he's conceding a lot of goals and then gets dropped for his Canadian compatriot, James Pantemis, and that was significant, I would say. But, on the other hand, at Copa America, he was absolutely outstanding. He was one of Canada's best players. He was in the running for goalkeeper of the tournament. He had a magnificent Copa America, and he proved that, once again, he was a mainstay with the Canadian men's national team. And the end of that, he did get dropped for the last game, or the last 2 games against Suriname, that got them to the Nations League final. So, all in all, I've got him in at 6, just really as high as 6 because of that outstanding Copa America.
You mentioned the club form as well. He didn't get picked for Portland's playoff game against Vancouver Whitecaps. So that takes us from 10 to 6, and we are into the top 5. And at number 5... Alphonso Davies.
Yeah, a controversial one, isn't it? I could tell your voice, you find that one controversial. But it is, because Alphonso Davies is a world-class football player. He plays for Bayern Munich. He gets picked pretty much every single week. But I just think at this point in his career, he needs a little bit of a spark, especially in the Canadian men's national team jersey. He's not had... the flamboyant, the flashy, finish or assist or some of the things that we expect from Alphonso Davies in the past. Maybe that's because he's playing at left back. But like I said, once again, at Bayern Munich, he is playing every single week, but we don't see as many assists or as many goals as what we might have seen in the past. So, not his best year, but I still think I have to recognise that he's playing with one of the best teams in the world, and I've put him in there at 5 just because of the form of the top 4.
Not sure the last time we would have seen Alphonso Davies that low down in terms of the best players for a year. It also, I suppose, goes to show that other players have had really good years for both club and for country. Not flashy, you said. I would have thought that would have been good for you as a former defender, the way you played, that you would have had that a little bit higher up, especially with Alphonso Davies having that captaincy, the leadership that he brought. Jesse Marsch saying he asked him to do a different role.
Yeah.
So, not sure about that.
OK.
Not sure about that. Let's get to number 4, Ismaël Koné.
Yeah, Ismaël Koné was brilliant at Copa America. He had some matches where I think, he proved that he was capable of playing at the highest level. I'm thinking particularly that Uruguay match where he just dominated the game in the 3rd and 4th place match at the end of the tournament. showed that against the Valverdes of the world and the top midfielders, he can mix it. Now, consistency's been an issue for him, but he did get a massive move to Marseille under De Zerbi, which I think is a ground and a team that he can really develop at. But as he's got there, he's been in and out, hasn't he? And he's been called out a little bit by his manager. So it's this inconsistency with Coney. Everyone that's worked with this guy, myself included, understand the quality that he has and what he's capable of. But we're not seeing it consistently enough in the training ground, and we're not seeing it consistently enough in games. And everyone's just hoping and praying that he can find that consistency, and that maturity to develop even more. So I've got him at 4. I think he can go even higher, but he has to develop and he has to mature. OK,
on we go to the top 3 for Canada's men's national team player of the year. And I'm maybe a little bit surprised that this guy isn't even higher up, given the fact that you're the president of the Moist Bombito fan club.
Well, I compared them to Virgil van Dijk, didn't I, that Kevin Coban keeps giving me stick for. But what a season he's had. I mean, he's been a revelation, isn't he? Playing at Colorado, you know, coming through there and showing a bit of potential, playing at left back, playing centre back, playing sometimes in midfield, and suddenly he just develops as this centre back. And the rise in form, the rise in confidence of this lad is astounding for me. Another player who just seems to get better and better every single week. So Bombito is at 3. He got his big move to Nice. He's playing in Ligue 1. He's playing consistently. He's playing in different formations, different shapes, sometimes 4 at the back, sometimes 3, which I think will help his game. He's shown that he can be better on the ball. He's starting to build his confidence in that sense. And his athleticism is world class. That's the thing that I think shows that Bombito can go to a higher level. He can cover the ground. He can play a really high line. And nobody's outrunning this boy. So, again, another player like Coney who's at 3 but can rise even higher.
And at 2, another defender, a Canadian defender who has had a great year for both club and country and also plays in the top tier of a league in Europe. Yeah,
Alistair Johnston I've got at number 2, Celtic fullback who's really developed in Glasgow, has become a leader and a mainstay of that team, a team that consistently wins trophies. Not great competition domestically, it has to be said, but he's playing at a high level in Champions League. Celtic are having a wonderful season there. And then his Canadian form, he's forming in the national team jersey, Copa America. He was brilliant. He came through a sticky start to the early part of 2024 where he was still recovering from an ankle injury, but he's just went from strength to strength and he's got better and better. And as I talk about the youngsters in a sense, and Coney and Bombito being inconsistent, this guy's just model of consistency. Every single game, 6, 7, 8 out of 10. You know what you're going to get from Johnson. He's added goals to his play. He's shown that he can get forward and he has the engine to get up and back. So I'm really happy where he is, and I think he's going to get better as well as he gets even older through his career.
He might have been Canada's best player.
He might have been.
America.
He might have been. There's one guy that's keeping on away for that.
Go on then. Who's number 1?
Well, it can only be Jonathan David. I wouldn't have him outside the top 10, but Jonathan David is Canada's best player. He's in the best form for Canada. He's someone who leads a line for his club Lille and for his country. A little bit of different role for Canada where he roams around and he shows that football acumen that he's got, where he can play 10, he can drift into wide areas, he can even go really deep and get in the ball. Such a clever football player, Jonathan David, and he's loved by every teammate that he has, every coach that he works under, whether it's in Europe in his club or it's with his national team. This guy is just respected throughout and he's having a great season. He scored high-profile goals in the Champions League, a lot of penalties, but it shows this guy's got ice in his veins as well, and he's a man for the big occasion. So I've got him at number 1, and yeah, Johnson, Bombito, Coney, even Davies, the Bayern Munich man. You could suggest that they're pushing this guy close, but ultimately I think he's won this by a clear way.
You've named a top 10 there without another of Canada's goal scorers, Kyle Larin.
Yeah.
Why is he not in?
Yeah, I feel for Kyle. He's a player that I admire a lot, and I think he's a player that can be significant for Canada. But I just felt his club form was really patchy. Maybe didn't quite get the goals that he would have expected in the biggest stage with Canada. But he contributed, and he's a good foil for Jonathan David. He's a front man that can hold the ball up and bring others into play. So, you know, I've nothing against Kyle. I do think that he can be back in this list and he can even win this award in 25 or 26. But he's got to build on the recent club form where he has been a little bit better. You have to score goals consistently if you're a 9 or 10, and Lara needs to do that.
OK, Kyle Larin outside of Stephen Caldwell's top 10 for the Canadian men's national team player of the year, but Jonathan David finishes #1.